Are you brave enough to master Marcus Aurelius's secrets for strength, wisdom, and focus? In a world that constantly pulls at our attention, tugs on our emotions, and tests our patience, it often feels like the very fabric of our existence is in constant flux. With the daily barrage of demands, distractions, and challenges, it can be easy to lose our sense of clarity, stability, and purpose. The problem is not necessarily the chaos around us, but how we respond to it. In such a turbulent environment, how do we find stability? How can we navigate through the storm without being swept away by its force? The ancient philosophers, particularly the Stoics, provide timeless wisdom on how to face life's challenges with grace, wisdom, and strength. The Stoic tradition teaches that we are not the product of our circumstances, but of how we choose to respond to them. Philosophers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius understood that a well-lived life was not the result of luck, fate, or mere chance, but of rigorous internal training. They believed that wisdom, strength, and focus were not just lofty ideals but disciplined practices that must be cultivated day by day. Wisdom, according to the Stoics, is the ability to see things as they truly are, without distortion, panic, or wishful thinking. It is about understanding the difference between what is in our control and what is not. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Strength for the Stoics is not about brute force or external recognition, but about the quiet endurance to stay true to one's values and principles, especially in the face of adversity. Epictetus, once a slave, understood that while external circumstances might bind us, our inner freedom, our thoughts, and our will are entirely within our control. Focus, meanwhile, is the art of elimination, filtering out distractions, noise, and the clutter of daily life to devote ourselves entirely to what matters. It is not about doing more, but doing fewer things with greater intention and clarity. In a world that constantly competes for our attention, the Stoics remind us that focus is not just about productivity, but about presence. As Seneca famously stated, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." The Stoic philosophy teaches us to reclaim our attention and live each moment with purpose. These virtues, wisdom, strength, and focus, are not mere ideals. They are disciplines that we can practice and cultivate. By mastering these principles, we can learn to live more intentionally, with greater clarity and resilience, regardless of the chaos around us. This journey requires daily commitment, reflection, and action, but the rewards are profound: a life lived with purpose, stability, and inner peace. Chapter 1. Wisdom is sight beyond emotion. Wisdom, in its deepest sense, is not simply the accumulation of knowledge or information. It is the ability to see the world as it truly is, unclouded by distortion, panic, or wishful thinking. The Stoics understood that much of our suffering arises not from the events themselves, but from the way we interpret those events. The true wisdom lies in perceiving the world clearly, without exaggeration or bias, and responding with deliberate, rational control. In a world constantly pulling us in various directions, wisdom offers a steady anchor, enabling us to remain calm and composed, even in the most turbulent of times. The Stoics, particularly philosophers like Seneca and Epictetus, emphasize that wisdom is the key to unlocking a life free from unnecessary suffering. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality," reminding us that our minds have a tendency to inflate pain, craft worst-case scenarios, and draw conclusions based on incomplete or distorted evidence. Our emotional reactions, often driven by fear, anger, or anxiety, can magnify challenges and create suffering that does not exist in the objective reality of the situation. The true test of wisdom, then, is in our ability to separate the event from the emotional narrative we impose upon it. The Stoic practice of mindfulness, pausing before reacting to external stimuli, becomes essential in cultivating wisdom. In moments of tension, when the world seems to be spiraling out of control, the wise person does not rush to judgment or action. Instead, they create a small space of stillness to observe, reflect, and discern the true nature of the situation. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, often reminded himself to view things with a clear mind, saying, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." To the Stoic, wisdom is the discipline of training the mind to see clearly, to observe reality as it is, without embellishment or fear. This discipline involves pausing when confronted with challenging circumstances. When insulted or criticized, for example, it's tempting to react immediately, often with anger, defensiveness, or hurt. But the Stoic wisdom lies in the ability to stop, take a breath, and question the emotional response. Is the insult true? Is it relevant? Is it a reflection of the other person's character? Or is it an old wound being triggered in our own mind? By creating space between stimulus and response, the Stoic avoids being swept away by emotion and can instead respond with clarity and reason. This practice of pausing also applies when things do not go as planned. It is easy to catastrophize when things fall apart, to assume that failure is inevitable or that the situation is hopeless. Yet, as Epictetus teaches us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In every challenge, there is something within our control, our thoughts, our responses, our attitude. Wisdom, then, is the ability to focus on what remains under our control and to direct our energy toward constructive action, rather than spiraling into despair or frustration. The Stoics also understood that much of our suffering comes from a mind that is untrained. Without guidance, the mind is a factory of exaggerated fears and misplaced hopes. It fabricates entire narratives from the smallest fragments of information, spinning worst-case scenarios from a single doubt or uncertainty. A delay in a project becomes a catastrophe. An innocent remark becomes an attack, and a setback becomes a permanent failure. As Seneca observed, the mind, left unchecked, dramatizes pain and builds prisons of our own making. The practice of wisdom, then, is not about eliminating all emotions. This is neither possible nor desirable, but about learning to navigate them without being controlled by them. Emotions are signals, not compasses. They inform us about our values, desires, and fears, but they do not determine our actions unless we allow them to. Wisdom teaches us to pause, observe, and question the source of our emotions, allowing reason and reflection to guide our decisions rather than knee-jerk reactions. To be wise is also to recognize that the stories we tell ourselves about the world shape how we experience it. If we believe that the world is out to get us, that people are always disrespectful, or that every failure is a sign of personal inadequacy, we will live in constant fear and anxiety. The wise person, however, challenges these assumptions, asking, "Where did this belief come from? What evidence do I have to support it? Is this belief helping me or hindering me?" This practice of self-inquiry is central to Stoic philosophy. As Epictetus said, "It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." In cultivating wisdom, the Stoics remind us to train our minds as we would train a muscle, to strengthen our ability to observe reality clearly, to question our emotional responses, and to act according to our principles rather than our impulses. This discipline is not a one-time event, but a lifelong practice, forged in the quiet moments of reflection, the pauses between actions, and the willingness to question the narratives that our minds create. It is through these small acts of discipline that we carve out wisdom, one decision at a time. By consistently applying this practice of wisdom, we can find clarity in the midst of chaos. We learn to face life with a steadiness that is unshaken by external events, for we know that our response to those events is within our control. This steady practice of wisdom allows us to live in harmony with reality, grounded in our values and principles, regardless of the emotional storms that may arise. Chapter 2. Strength is quiet endurance. Strength is often misunderstood. In modern society, we tend to equate strength with loud displays of power, the roar of victory, or the achievement of great feats. We see strength in outwardly impressive accomplishments, championships, trophies, public recognition. Yet, the Stoics viewed strength not as external bravado but as a quiet, steady endurance, an inner fortitude that reveals itself not in dramatic moments, but in the ability to persist and remain grounded in the face of adversity. The Stoic philosophers, particularly Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, understood that true strength lies not in how much we can lift or how loudly we can shout, but in our capacity to endure with dignity when the world pressures us to falter. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." For the Stoics, strength was about how we face obstacles, how we endure discomfort, and how we persevere in times of hardship, not by avoiding pain, but by confronting it with resilience and composure. One of the most powerful examples of Stoic strength comes from the life of Epictetus, who, despite being born a slave and enduring physical suffering, demonstrated profound inner freedom. His body may have been bound, but his mind was unshackled. Epictetus teaches us that true strength is found not in external circumstances, but in our ability to remain steadfast in our internal responses. He famously said, "No man is free who is not master of himself," emphasizing that strength arises from within, from the mastery of one's emotions, impulses, and desires. In the face of suffering and hardship, the Stoic does not collapse under the weight of adversity, but faces it with dignity. Strength in this sense is not about gritting your teeth and enduring for the sake of enduring, but about choosing to remain true to your principles, values, and integrity, regardless of the external pressures. This kind of inner strength is not about seeking applause or recognition, but about maintaining your character in the shadows when no one is watching. Epictetus' own life serves as a testament to this principle. Born a slave, crippled, and subjected to profound hardships, he could have easily let his circumstances define him. Yet he chose to maintain his inner freedom and refused to allow external conditions to dictate his emotional state. His strength was not in avoiding suffering, but in transforming his suffering into a tool for inner growth. The Stoic understands that every challenge is an opportunity to refine the self. In the midst of pain or loss, we can choose to build resilience, patience, and wisdom. Modern life, too, tests us in subtler, quieter ways. We may not face the kind of dramatic adversity that the Stoics experienced. There may be no battlefield or tangible enemy, but the pressures we face are no less real. Time, anxiety, disappointment, and the slow erosion of enthusiasm can be just as wearing. The monotony of daily life, the unrecognized effort, and the moments of discouragement can chip away at our sense of purpose if we allow them to. However, the Stoic teaches that strength is found in our ability to persevere, even when the world seems indifferent to our struggles. The Stoic strength is built not in grand acts of heroism, but in the small, consistent actions of everyday life. When faced with difficulty, the Stoic does not give up or seek shortcuts. Instead, they commit to doing the right thing, day after day, even when the reward is not immediately visible. As Seneca wrote in his letters to Lucilius, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." The Stoic knows that strength is not measured by a single dramatic moment, but by the accumulation of small, disciplined actions. Strength, according to the Stoics, is also about the refusal to yield to temptation. In the daily grind of life, we are constantly faced with choices: to give in to convenience, to surrender our principles for the sake of comfort, or to push through discomfort in service of something greater. Stoic strength is found in choosing discipline even when motivation fades, when external rewards are absent, and when the path becomes arduous. It is the ability to rise after a setback without fanfare or celebration, and to continue moving forward with determination and grace. This quiet endurance also applies to situations where external validation is absent. In today's world, we are often rewarded for what is visible, what can be measured, recognized, or applauded. But the Stoic strength resides in doing the right thing not for the recognition, but because it is aligned with one's character. Strength is found in persistence, in the willingness to keep going even when no one is watching. The Stoic does not wait for validation or applause. Instead, they recognize that true satisfaction comes from the knowledge that their actions reflect their inner values. In the modern world, we often face the enemy of distraction and the temptation of convenience. The Stoic response to this is not to give in to every whim or fleeting desire, but to endure the grind, to focus on the task at hand, and to remain steadfast in pursuit of what truly matters. This kind of strength is not about avoiding difficulty, but about cultivating a posture of resilience in the face of it. As Seneca once remarked, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. The more we endure with purpose, the more we fortify our inner strength. True strength, then, is not about how much we can endure in a single moment, but how long we can carry on in the face of adversity, how steadfast we remain when things get hard, and how deeply we commit to our values in the midst of difficulty. The Stoic teaches that the greatest strength is revealed not by dominating others, but by withstanding hardship with dignity and grace. Strength is quiet endurance, the ability to endure without complaint, to stay true to oneself, and to rise, time and again, no matter the challenge. Chapter 3. Focus is the art of elimination. In today's world, focus has become one of the most valuable, but also one of the most elusive resources. Everywhere we look, there are distractions, whether it's the endless stream of notifications on our phones, the constant pull of social media, or the overwhelming demands of work and personal life. We live in a society that thrives on speed, noise, and multitasking, but the Stoics understood that true focus is the art of elimination, eliminating distractions, noise, and the unnecessary to direct our attention to what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most prominent Stoic philosophers, understood the importance of focus in achieving a life of purpose and clarity. In his meditations, he reminded himself that life is fleeting, and we should not waste our time on trivial pursuits. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." This simple yet profound statement cuts through the fog of daily distractions and calls us to focus on what is truly important. For Marcus, focus meant living with a clear sense of purpose, choosing carefully where to direct his attention, and acting in alignment with his values. Focus, according to the Stoics, is not merely about productivity or completing tasks, but about presence and intention. It is about bringing your full attention to the task at hand, whether it is eating a meal, speaking with a friend, or working on a project. The Stoic approach to focus is one of mindfulness, where each action is infused with purpose and awareness. As Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." The root cause of this waste is often distraction, a fragmented attention that leads us to do many things without truly engaging in any of them. In a world where we are constantly pulled in different directions, the Stoic practice of focus requires deliberate effort. To live with focus means rejecting the temptation to be everywhere at once. It means choosing not to be ruled by the constant tug of urgency and multitasking. The Stoic philosopher does not get caught up in the trivialities of life, the gossip, or the distractions that demand our immediate attention, but often lead to little or no value. Instead, the Stoic asks themselves, what is truly important right now? What aligns with my values and goals? The art of focus requires us to eliminate the non-essential. This is where the Stoic philosophy is particularly powerful. For the Stoic, life is too short and precious to waste on things that do not contribute to one's ultimate purpose. This practice of elimination is not about doing less for the sake of laziness, but about being more selective and intentional with our actions. As Epictetus famously stated, wealth consists not in having great possessions but in having few wants. This principle can be applied to our attention as well. True wealth of focus is found in fewer distractions, fewer tasks, and fewer commitments, but with greater depth and intention. Eliminating distractions is not about isolation or avoidance. It's about reclaiming your attention as your most sacred resource. Every time we give in to distractions, we dilute our energy and fragment our focus. When our attention is scattered across multiple things, none of them receive the full weight of our awareness, and none of them lead to a sense of fulfillment or progress. The Stoics understood that when we spread ourselves too thin, we lose our sense of direction and purpose. As Seneca observed, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. One of the most profound aspects of Stoic focus is that it requires a deep sense of purpose. The Stoic does not mindlessly move from one task to the next, but instead prioritizes what aligns with their values and long-term goals. In this sense, focus is not just about paying attention to the right things. It is about saying no to the wrong things. The Stoic must learn to say no to distractions and diversions that do not serve their higher purpose. By eliminating what is unnecessary, the Stoic frees up energy and mental space to focus on the things that truly matter. Focus also requires clarity. To focus, you must first know what to focus on. This requires introspection and a clear understanding of what is truly important in your life. For the Stoic, this clarity is rooted in self-examination and alignment with their core values. The Stoic examines their desires, goals, and actions regularly to ensure they are aligned with their true purpose. Without this clarity, it is easy to fall prey to distractions, external expectations, and the noise of modern life. As we engage with the world, it's easy to be overwhelmed by the demands on our time and attention. But the Stoics teach us that true focus comes not from trying to do more, but from doing less, and doing it with full presence and purpose. The more we focus on the essential, the more we hone our discipline and develop the capacity to engage deeply with our actions. By eliminating the distractions, we create space for true progress, clarity, and peace of mind. In practical terms, focus can be cultivated through rituals and habits that protect our attention. This could mean setting clear intentions for the day, dedicating specific times for deep work, and actively eliminating interruptions, whether they be digital or interpersonal. The Stoic approach to focus is about turning inward and becoming a master of where and how we direct our attention, knowing that every choice we make with our focus is a choice that shapes our future. In a world full of noise, the Stoics' power lies in their ability to tune it out and devote themselves fully to what is worthwhile. Chapter 4. The wisdom to respond, not react. In a world that constantly demands our attention, one of the most difficult challenges is learning how to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Our culture, with its emphasis on speed, immediacy, and constant connectivity, has made us more susceptible to emotional reactivity. Whether it's a sharp comment, an unforeseen setback, or a high-pressure situation, we are often compelled to act quickly, to speak immediately, or to engage defensively. But the Stoic philosophers remind us that true strength lies not in reacting to every external stimulus, but in pausing, reflecting, and responding with wisdom. The Stoic approach to reactivity begins with the understanding that the space between stimulus and response is sacred. It is in this space that we have the power to choose how we react. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, taught that it's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters. This concept is at the heart of Stoic thought. While we cannot control external events, we can control how we perceive and respond to them. The ability to exercise self-control, to pause before acting, and to reflect before reacting is central to achieving a life of tranquility and virtue. The Stoic response to any form of provocation, whether it comes in the form of insult, praise, criticism, or conflict, is rooted in the idea of measured, thoughtful action. The Stoic does not allow their emotions to dictate their behavior. They do not lash out in anger or inflate their ego in response to praise. Instead, they maintain their composure and act according to reason, not impulse. As Marcus Aurelius said, "When someone does you wrong, it's not what they do that harms you, but your reaction to it." This insight underscores the Stoic belief that our emotions, if left unchecked, can often distort our perception of reality and lead us to make decisions we later regret. A key practice for the Stoic is learning to create a pause between stimulus and response. When provoked, the Stoic does not immediately engage. Instead, they create a moment of reflection, asking themselves important questions. Is this worth reacting to? Is there any truth in this insult? Or is it a reflection of the other person's flaws? What is my highest self's response to this situation? This pause allows the Stoic to separate their emotional reaction from their rational response. It allows them to examine the situation objectively, free from the distortions of anger, fear, or pride, and respond in a way that is aligned with their principles and values. The pause is a powerful tool. It gives us the space to disengage from automatic emotional responses and instead act with intention. As Seneca wrote in his letters to Lucilius, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The Stoic does not allow external events to control their emotions. Instead, they take full responsibility for their reactions, recognizing that their emotional responses are a reflection of their own inner state, not of the external world. When someone insults us, it is not the insult itself that causes harm, but our emotional attachment to it. When we react defensively, we allow the other person to control our emotional state, and in doing so, we relinquish our peace. A Stoic does not rush to justify themselves in every situation, nor do they respond out of a desire to win arguments or gain validation. They recognize that there is power in restraint and that not every conflict requires a response. A lion does not roar at flies, just as a wise person does not engage in every argument or react to every slight. By choosing when to engage and when to remain silent, the Stoic demonstrates self-control and wisdom. In doing so, they preserve their inner peace and maintain their dignity. In the heat of confrontation, we may be tempted to act out of emotion, whether it be anger, fear, or pride. However, the Stoic teaches us that it is not the external circumstances that define us, but how we choose to meet them. Wisdom is found in choosing how to respond to adversity, and this response should always be guided by reason, not emotion. As Epictetus advised, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. This means that our actions, not our words, should reflect our Stoic principles. In moments of tension or provocation, the Stoic response is calm, measured, and grounded in their values. Learning to respond rather than react is also about developing an awareness of the beliefs and assumptions that underlie our emotions. When we feel anger or frustration, it is often a sign that our expectations have been violated. The Stoic response is to examine these expectations. Are they reasonable? Are they based on truth? Or are they a product of our own desires or fears? By questioning our assumptions, we can break free from the cycle of emotional reactivity and respond with clarity. Ultimately, the Stoic does not aim for emotional suppression, but for emotional mastery. They do not seek to eliminate feelings, but to transform them into opportunities for growth. When we feel insulted, for example, instead of reacting with anger, we can use the moment as an opportunity to practice patience and humility. When faced with criticism, instead of becoming defensive, we can reflect on what truth may lie in the feedback and use it to improve ourselves. By cultivating the wisdom to respond, not react, we build resilience and inner strength. We become less vulnerable to the ups and downs of external events and more anchored in our own principles. We gain the ability to navigate life's challenges with composure, making thoughtful decisions that reflect our values rather than our impulses. This practice of response rather than reaction allows us to maintain our dignity, preserve our peace, and build a life of greater clarity, virtue, and self-mastery. Chapter 5. Strength through adversity. Adversity is an unavoidable part of life. It comes in many forms: personal loss, failure, rejection, illness, or even the slower, quieter pressure of day-to-day stress. In modern life, we often try to avoid or escape difficulty, seeking comfort, ease, and predictability. Yet, the Stoics understood that hardship is not an obstacle to a good life, but an essential element of it. They believed that adversity, rather than being something to fear, should be embraced as an opportunity for growth, transformation, and inner strength. Data so. Stoic philosophers saw adversity not as a burden to bear but as a gym for the soul. In this view, difficulties and challenges are not punishments, but chances to strengthen our character, sharpen our resolve, and cultivate virtues like patience, resilience, and wisdom. As Seneca famously wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." This comparison between physical labor and mental hardship illustrates the Stoic belief that just as muscles grow stronger through resistance, so too does the mind become more resilient through the trials of life. The Stoic perspective on adversity is rooted in the understanding that external events, whether they be the loss of a loved one, a financial setback, or an illness, are beyond our control. What we can control, however, is our response to these events. As Epictetus wrote in his discourses, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The Stoic does not give in to despair or frustration when faced with hardship, nor do they allow external events to dictate their emotional state. Instead, they approach adversity with the mindset that it is an opportunity to practice virtue. Rather than seeing challenges as personal failures or cruel twists of fate, the Stoic reframes adversity as a test of one's character. For instance, when confronted with a difficult situation, instead of complaining or succumbing to anger, the Stoic asks, "What can I learn from this? How can I grow through this experience?" In the face of adversity, the Stoic works to maintain a sense of inner peace, understanding that their strength is not determined by what happens to them, but by how they respond. In modern life, this attitude can be difficult to adopt, especially when faced with the pressure of a fast-paced, results-oriented society. In the workplace, for example, we may experience failure or rejection, and it can feel devastating. But the Stoic reminds us that failure is not the end, but a necessary part of the journey. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This profound insight suggests that the obstacles in our path are not merely things to overcome, but opportunities for growth. What may seem like a setback is actually the very thing that can push us forward, refining our skills, building our resilience, and strengthening our resolve. The Stoic understanding of adversity goes hand in hand with their belief in practicing amor fati, the love of fate. This concept, which was embraced by Nietzsche but originally developed by the Stoics, encourages us to accept whatever happens in life, good or bad, as part of our fate. Instead of fighting against adversity or wishing things were different, the Stoic learns to love life as it comes, with all of its challenges and uncertainties. This does not mean passivity or resignation, but a deep acceptance of reality as it is. By embracing amor fati, we cultivate the ability to face hardship with equanimity, turning every challenge into a stepping stone for personal development. In facing adversity, the Stoic is not blind to the pain or discomfort that may accompany it. They acknowledge suffering, but they do not let it define them. Rather than letting hardship erode their spirit, they use it as a refining force, shaping their character and testing their ability to endure. A Stoic does not seek to avoid pain, but to grow through it, understanding that through the trials of life, they develop virtues that are otherwise unattainable. This transformation through adversity is reflected in the Stoic practice of preparation for misfortune. By anticipating potential difficulties before they arise, the Stoic mentally prepares themselves for challenges, cultivating an inner strength that can withstand even the most trying circumstances. This preparation is not about living in fear or constantly expecting the worst, but about recognizing that life is unpredictable and that hardship is an inevitable part of the human experience. As Seneca advised, we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and by mentally rehearsing the obstacles we may face, we reduce their power to disturb us when they arrive. Through this practice, the Stoic becomes increasingly unshaken by external events. While the storms of life may cause discomfort or pain, they cannot uproot the Stoic sense of self, their values, or their peace. This is the ultimate strength, the ability to endure adversity with grace, dignity, and composure, knowing that hardship does not define us but refines us. In practical terms, the Stoic approach to adversity is one of reflection and action. When faced with hardship, the Stoic takes time to examine the situation, asking, "What can I learn from this? What can I control in this situation? How can I respond in a way that reflects my values and principles?" This process of reflection allows the Stoic to turn adversity into a source of strength, using it as an opportunity to develop greater wisdom, resilience, and self-mastery. Ultimately, strength through adversity is not about avoiding pain or discomfort, but about learning to use them as tools for growth. It is through adversity that we discover our true character, develop the virtues that define us, and emerge stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The Stoic approach teaches us that we are not victims of our circumstances, but active participants in the shaping of our lives. By embracing adversity, we become more than we were before, and we develop the strength to face whatever challenges life presents with courage and dignity. Chapter 6. Clarity over complexity. In an age dominated by information overload, noise, and an endless stream of distractions, clarity has become an increasingly rare and valuable commodity. Modern life constantly pushes us to seek answers quickly, act impulsively, and navigate an ever-expanding web of complexity. Yet the Stoic philosophers, in their pursuit of virtue and tranquility, understood that clarity, the ability to simplify and focus, is not just a luxury, but a necessity for living a meaningful life. For the Stoics, clarity is the antidote to confusion, and it is through the disciplined practice of simplicity that one can achieve true wisdom and inner peace. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, advised against complicating life with unnecessary distractions. He believed that clarity is found not in adding more, but in stripping away what does not serve our purpose. In his letters to Lucilius, Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." This insight is crucial to understanding how complexity often distorts our perception. The more we allow ourselves to be drawn into unnecessary complications, the more we lose sight of what is truly important. Complexity often creates confusion, making it harder to see the truth of our situation, while simplicity and clarity allow us to move through life with purpose and direction. To the Stoic, complexity is not a sign of wisdom or sophistication, but a mask for confusion. In our modern world, we often think that complexity means depth or intelligence. We are conditioned to believe that the more complicated something is, the more valuable it must be. But for the Stoic, simplicity reveals the essence of life, and clarity is a path to true understanding. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds himself repeatedly that the key to a virtuous life is simplicity and focus. He writes, "Keep yourself simple, good, pure, unpretentious, a friend of justice, God-fearing, kind, full of affection, strong for your proper work." In this passage, Marcus shows us that clarity is not just intellectual, it's moral. To be clear in purpose is to live authentically, in alignment with our highest values, without the need to impress others or get lost in the excess of modern distractions. One of the core practices of the Stoics is to distill their lives down to what is essential, shedding the weight of unnecessary complexity. This practice is closely tied to the concept of virtue, the Stoic belief that living in accordance with virtue is the highest good. When we focus on virtue, we simplify our goals and our actions. We stop chasing after fleeting desires and external validations and instead direct our energy toward developing our character and living in alignment with our values. In doing so, we find clarity in both purpose and action. In practical terms, clarity over complexity requires self-reflection and deliberate choice. When confronted with a decision, the Stoic does not rush to act impulsively or get bogged down in a labyrinth of options. Instead, they focus on the essentials. What is the most virtuous course of action? What aligns with my deepest values? What is in my control? These questions help cut through the fog of distraction and complexity, allowing the Stoic to make decisions based on clarity rather than the noise of external expectations or internal impulses. Another key aspect of Stoic clarity is the ability to focus on the present moment. In our modern world, we are constantly distracted by the past or the future, regrets about what we should have done, or anxiety about what might come next. This focus on what is outside of our control only serves to create more complexity and confusion. The Stoics, however, taught that the present moment is all we can truly control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The present moment is all we have, and we must make use of it." By grounding ourselves in the here and now, we eliminate the unnecessary complexity of past and future worries, and allow ourselves to act with greater focus and effectiveness. Clarity also involves removing distractions from our environment. As We've seen, distractions are often external, but they can also be internal. The Stoic discipline of self-examination, constantly reflecting on one's thoughts, emotions, and actions, helps to clear the mental clutter that clouds judgment and leads to confusion. In the same way that we declutter our physical environment to create space for productivity, the Stoics practiced clearing their minds of unhelpful thoughts and distractions to create room for wisdom and virtuous action. Moreover, clarity requires aligning our actions with our values. When we are unclear about what we stand for or what we want out of life, we are vulnerable to the chaos of external pressures and fleeting desires. As Epictetus taught, know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly. Clarity comes from understanding our core beliefs, our deepest values, and the life we want to create. When we align our actions with these values, we cut through the complexity of trying to please others, chasing after superficial goals, or getting lost in the ever-changing tides of external circumstances. The practice of clarity over complexity also involves setting boundaries, learning to say no to things that are not aligned with our goals or values. In a world that constantly demands our attention and pulls us in multiple directions, the Stoic must practice discernment, carefully choosing where to invest time, energy, and focus. This discipline of saying no is not about deprivation, but about prioritization. By eliminating the non-essential, the Stoic frees themselves to focus more fully on what truly matters. In modern life, this discipline of clarity is more important than ever. We are bombarded by a constant stream of information, entertainment, and demands on our time. But as the Stoics teach us, the key to a virtuous and fulfilling life lies not in doing more, but in doing less with greater purpose and focus. Clarity allows us to cut through the noise, simplify our lives, and live with intention. By embracing simplicity and focusing on what is truly essential, we create space for wisdom, virtue, and peace of mind. Ultimately, clarity is about finding and staying true to our purpose. It is about living each day with intention, reflecting on our actions, and striving to align our behavior with our highest values. The Stoic approach to clarity teaches us that life does not need to be complicated or cluttered with distractions. True wisdom comes from simplifying our lives, focusing on what truly matters, and acting with integrity and purpose. By embracing clarity over complexity, we can navigate the noise of the world with confidence, calm, and direction. Chapter 7: The Discipline of Stillness. In a world that constantly demands movement, action, and noise, stillness is often viewed as a luxury, an afterthought, or even a sign of weakness. We are conditioned to equate busyness with productivity and progress, while silence is often misunderstood as emptiness or inefficiency. Yet, the Stoic philosophers recognize that true strength and wisdom emerge not from constant motion but from moments of stillness when we pause, reflect, and recalibrate. For the Stoic, stillness is not inactivity. It is a deliberate, focused presence that allows us to return to our core, to align our actions with our values, and to sharpen our clarity of mind. Seneca, in his letters to Lucilius, reminds us that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. This truth points to the fact that much of our time is consumed by unnecessary distractions, noise, and actions that lack purpose. The Stoic, however, practices stillness as a form of self-mastery. In stillness, we reclaim our attention and energy, clearing our minds of clutter and returning to the essence of who we are. Through stillness, we learn to respond to life with intention, rather than being swept away by the current of impulses and external pressures. Stillness is not about escaping from the world or avoiding the demands of life. Rather, it is a return to one's center. It is in these quiet moments of reflection that we are able to examine our thoughts, actions, and values. It allows us to cultivate the self-awareness necessary to make thoughtful decisions, guided by reason and virtue, rather than reacting emotionally or impulsively. As Epictetus said, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. The discipline of stillness gives us the space to pause and consider how we will respond to the challenges and opportunities that come our way. In the hustle of modern life, it's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of activity and forget the power of pause. Yet without stillness, we risk losing our clarity and purpose. When we are constantly rushing from one task to the next, we become like a boat tossed on turbulent waters, unable to steer a steady course. But in stillness, we find our anchor. It is in these moments of quiet that we regain our perspective, reflect on our priorities, and regain our sense of direction. As Marcus Aurelius wisely wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." In other words, the true refuge we seek is within us, and it is found in the stillness of the mind. The Stoics also understood that stillness is not merely the absence of activity, but a conscious practice of discipline and presence. It is about cultivating a mental state that is unaffected by the external chaos around us. In moments of stillness, we learn to separate ourselves from the noise of the world and focus on what truly matters. This practice of withdrawal, of retreating into silence, enables the Stoic to act with greater clarity and control in their daily life. It is through this stillness that they develop the ability to engage with life, not from a place of reaction, but from a position of strength and intention. Stillness also offers a counterbalance to the restlessness that often characterizes modern existence. The constant barrage of information, the pressure to be constantly available, and the demands for instant responses leave little room for reflection or thoughtful consideration. In response to this, the Stoic practices intentional withdrawal from the noise. This may take the form of brief moments throughout the day, pauses between tasks, moments of solitude in nature, or quiet reflection before taking action. These moments are essential for recentering the mind, sharpening our focus, and ensuring that our actions are in alignment with our values. Moreover, stillness provides an opportunity for introspection and self-examination, which are crucial aspects of the Stoic philosophy. The Stoic life is one of continuous self-reflection, where we regularly assess our thoughts, behaviors, and responses. Without moments of stillness, this self-examination becomes difficult, if not impossible. As Seneca advises, "He who is brave is free," meaning that through self-discipline and clarity, we free ourselves from the distractions and temptations that pull us away from our true purpose. In this quiet space, we ask ourselves the tough questions. What are my true values? What principles guide my decisions? Am I living in alignment with my beliefs? These reflective moments allow us to refine our character and strengthen our resolve. Stillness is also a crucial tool for emotional regulation. The Stoics understood that emotions, while natural, should not dictate our actions. By practicing stillness, we create a buffer between our feelings and our responses. Rather than reacting impulsively to anger, frustration, or fear, we allow ourselves time to reflect on the source of these emotions and examine whether they are based on rational thought or distortion. By pausing, we gain the power to choose how we respond to our emotions rather than being controlled by them. The discipline of stillness, however, does not mean avoiding discomfort or retreating from the challenges of life. The Stoic does not seek silence as an escape from difficulty, but as a means of preparing for it. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Stillness provides the mental and emotional preparation to face life's challenges with composure. It gives us the mental space to approach difficult situations with calmness, perspective, and clarity. Stillness is also an antidote to the overstimulation of modern life. In a society that rewards constant activity, stillness can feel unnatural or uncomfortable. Yet, it is precisely in these moments of quiet that we find our strength and our true direction. By consciously incorporating stillness into our daily routines, we cultivate the discipline to remain present, focused, and aligned with our core values. In the stillness of our minds, we find the strength to act with purpose, to respond with wisdom, and to live a life of integrity. Ultimately, the Stoic discipline of stillness is not about withdrawing from life, but about returning to life with greater clarity, presence, and intention. It is through stillness that we become more attuned to our inner selves, better able to navigate the complexities of the world, and more capable of living in alignment with our highest values. By practicing stillness, we embrace the power of pause, transforming it from a moment of inactivity into a vital tool for self-mastery, reflection, and purposeful action. Chapter 8. Resolve in the face of chaos. Chaos is an inevitable part of life. It comes uninvited, often disrupting our plans, testing our resilience, and challenging our very sense of peace. Whether in the form of a sudden crisis, a personal loss, an unexpected setback, or the unpredictable nature of the world around us, chaos is always lurking at the edges of our lives. In modern society, where speed, uncertainty, and volatility seem to dominate, the ability to remain steadfast and grounded in the face of chaos has never been more essential. The Stoic philosophers, however, teach us that chaos does not need to break us. It can, in fact, be the proving ground for the strength of our character. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most notable Stoic philosophers and a Roman emperor, understood the challenges of leadership and the inevitable chaos that surrounds the responsibilities of power. Yet in the midst of his turbulent reign, he wrote in his meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This insight encapsulates the Stoic attitude towards chaos. While we cannot control external events, we have the power to control how we respond to them. Our resolve, therefore, is built not by avoiding chaos, but by learning how to stand firm in the storm. The Stoics believe that while chaos is beyond our control, our internal state, our thoughts, actions, and responses remains within our grasp. It is not the chaotic circumstances themselves that disturb us, but our reactions to them. To the Stoics, resolve is not about denying the presence of chaos, but about cultivating the discipline to face it without losing our center. This requires an unwavering commitment to our values and a deep trust in our ability to navigate life's unpredictability with integrity. In times of crisis, many people look for external solutions, hoping that the world will align itself in a way that brings comfort or predictability. However, the Stoic approach to chaos is not to wish away the storm, but to strengthen our ability to walk through it. As Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." The Stoic mind trains itself not to be easily swayed by the immediate discomfort of chaos, but to confront it with poise and composure. They understand that external circumstances cannot break their resolve unless they allow it. The Stoic practice of amor fati, the love of fate, embodies this attitude of accepting chaos with grace. Instead of resisting or wishing for a different reality, the Stoic learns to embrace the present moment, whatever it may bring. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic teachers, said, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do." This acceptance is not about resignation, but about understanding that life's challenges are an inherent part of the journey. By loving fate, we develop the courage to face whatever comes our way with the confidence that we can handle it. One of the key aspects of Stoic resolve is the idea of maintaining control over our judgments and emotional responses. In moments of chaos, it is easy to become overwhelmed, panicked, or reactive. But the Stoic response is to pause, reflect, and choose how to respond thoughtfully. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the tranquility that comes in the wake of a storm is the fruit of a disciplined mind. This tranquility does not arise from avoiding the storm, but from training ourselves to respond with wisdom and purpose when the storm arrives. It is through the cultivation of this calmness that we can remain focused on what is truly important, no matter how chaotic the external environment becomes. Resolve in the face of chaos is also about holding fast to our principles and values, especially when circumstances tempt us to abandon them. In moments of difficulty, there may be a strong pull to act out of fear, desperation, or self-interest. The Stoic, however, does not allow external circumstances to dictate their actions. Instead, they turn inward to their core beliefs and virtues, reaffirming their commitment to truth, justice, and courage. By aligning their actions with their principles, they remain steady, no matter how much external chaos may attempt to disrupt them. This Stoic resolve is not about suppressing emotions or denying the difficulty of the situation. Rather, it is about confronting adversity with the understanding that how we respond is what truly matters. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. It is through the pressure of adversity that we are refined and our character strengthened. Stoic resolve is the ability to embrace the discomfort of chaos without losing our integrity or sense of purpose. It is the ability to maintain composure and clarity even when everything around us feels unstable. In practical terms, building resolve in the face of chaos requires mental preparation. The Stoics were proponents of premeditatio malorum, the practice of contemplating potential difficulties before they arise. By mentally preparing for the possibility of challenges, the Stoic mind becomes better equipped to handle them when they do come. This practice does not breed fear or anxiety, but rather strengthens our capacity for endurance. We learn to expect challenges and to face them with the mindset that we are capable of overcoming them. Another key element of Stoic resolve is the practice of detachment. The Stoic does not identify their sense of self with external events or outcomes. Whether they succeed or fail, whether life is smooth or chaotic, their identity remains anchored in their inner character. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By detaching ourselves from the external results, we free ourselves from the stress and frustration that chaos often brings. Ultimately, the Stoic approach to resolve in the face of chaos is one of inner strength and self-mastery. It is the ability to remain calm, clear-headed, and focused, even when the world around us is in turmoil. This resolve comes from the understanding that while we cannot control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. By cultivating this mindset, we develop the resilience and inner fortitude needed to navigate the challenges of life with dignity and strength. In a chaotic world, the Stoic remains anchored in their values, committed to their principles, and resolute in their pursuit of virtue. Chapter 9, Excellence in the Ordinary. In a world that glorifies grand achievements, public recognition, and extraordinary feats, it is easy to overlook the power of the ordinary. We are taught to chase after accolades, to measure our worth by visible success, and to focus on milestones and victories. Yet the Stoic philosophers offer us a radically different view. True excellence is not found in the exceptional moments, but in the consistency of our daily actions. For the Stoic, excellence is not about performing grand gestures for recognition. It is about living with integrity, discipline, and intention in every moment, even the most mundane ones. Seneca, one of the most prominent Stoic thinkers, often reminded his readers that excellence is not a rare occurrence, but a habit that emerges in the ordinary day-to-day practices of life. In his letters to Lucilius, he wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." This quote reflects the Stoic belief that growth and improvement do not come from moments of ease, but from the continuous, consistent effort applied to even the smallest tasks. The Stoic does not seek applause or recognition for their actions, but aims to live with the highest standards of excellence, regardless of whether anyone is watching. In a society that values the loud and the visible, the Stoics' commitment to excellence in the ordinary is an act of rebellion. While the world celebrates quick fixes, shortcuts, and instant gratification, the Stoic embraces the slow, deliberate process of self-discipline and virtue. It is in the seemingly insignificant tasks, how we wake up, how we eat, how we engage with others, that our true character is revealed. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This quality of thought is cultivated not in moments of crisis, but in the quiet, repetitive practices of daily life. Excellence in the ordinary is about showing up with the same level of commitment, focus, and integrity in everything we do, regardless of its apparent significance. The Stoic approach to excellence challenges the modern obsession with big wins and public accolades. Instead of measuring success by external markers, promotions, awards, recognition, the Stoic measures success by the alignment of their actions with their principles. Whether it's how we conduct ourselves at work, how we treat others, or how we approach tasks that seem small or unimportant, excellence is about doing the right thing consistently, even when no one is paying attention. This mindset shifts the focus from the outcome to the process, from what we achieve to how we live. The Stoics understood that excellence in the ordinary requires discipline and self-mastery. It is easy to act with integrity when the stakes are high and the spotlight is on us. But true excellence is revealed in how we perform when the audience is absent, when there is no immediate reward or recognition. It is about choosing to do the right thing because it is right, not because it will bring external validation. Seneca emphasizes this in his writings. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. The Stoic sees each moment as an opportunity to practice virtue, no matter how small or routine the task may seem. By dedicating ourselves to excellence in the ordinary, we cultivate a character that is steadfast, reliable, and true to its principles. One of the key aspects of Stoic excellence is that it is not dependent on external circumstances. While the world around us is constantly changing and full of uncertainty, the Stoic remains anchored in their values and actions. This does not mean ignoring the external world, but rather understanding that our inner excellence is not contingent on the outcomes or rewards that we receive. As Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters. The Stoic focus is not on achieving perfection in a single moment, but on refining the process of living virtuously every day. The pursuit of excellence becomes a lifelong practice, not something that can be achieved through isolated events, but through continuous small acts of self-discipline and integrity. The Stoics also recognize that true excellence in the ordinary requires mindfulness and presence. In a world filled with distractions, it is easy to rush through tasks without fully engaging in them. We often multitask, split our attention, and fail to give our full presence to what we are doing. The Stoic, however, approaches each task with deliberate attention, focusing on the present moment and giving their best effort, no matter how mundane or repetitive the activity. Whether we are washing dishes, replying to emails, or having a conversation, the Stoic strives to engage fully and give their best, recognizing that these small moments add up to a life of true excellence. Excellence in the ordinary also means embracing the discomfort and challenges that come with daily life. The Stoic does not shy away from difficulty, nor do they seek to avoid the mundane or unpleasant tasks. Instead, they approach each task with the mindset that it is an opportunity to practice virtue, whether it is patience, perseverance, humility, or integrity. Even in the most difficult circumstances, the Stoic aims to maintain their composure and act in accordance with their principles. The Stoic path to excellence is not one of ease but of consistent effort, even in the face of adversity. By committing to excellence in the ordinary, we not only refine our character but also cultivate a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment. The Stoic does not measure success by external achievements or accolades, but by the alignment of their actions with their core values. This inner sense of fulfillment comes not from recognition, but from the satisfaction of knowing that we are living according to our highest principles. In the end, the Stoic path to excellence is not about seeking out extraordinary moments, but about living with integrity, discipline, and intention in every moment. It is in the ordinary, everyday tasks that our true character is forged, and it is in the quiet, unnoticed acts of excellence that we build a life of virtue. By committing to the practice of excellence in the ordinary, we become the architects of our own character, shaping a life that reflects our highest ideals, regardless of whether the world notices. Chapter 10. The Unshakable Self. The pursuit of the unshakable self is the Stoics' ultimate goal, a state of inner resilience and self-mastery that remains unmoved regardless of the external chaos that may surround us. In a world filled with uncertainty, distraction, and constant change, the Stoic teaches us that true peace and strength lie not in controlling the external world, but in mastering our own responses, thoughts, and actions. The unshakable self is not a person who is immune to hardship, but one who has cultivated the inner strength to remain grounded, steadfast, and undeterred, no matter the circumstances. The essence of Stoic philosophy is the understanding that, while we cannot control external events, we have full control over our inner lives, our thoughts, perceptions, and reactions. Epictetus, one of the central figures of Stoicism, reminds us, It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The unshakable self is built on this very foundation, the recognition that we alone are responsible for our internal state. By mastering our mind and refining our responses, we develop the ability to navigate the ups and downs of life without losing our core sense of self. This inner strength is not born from denial or avoidance of hardship. The Stoic does not shy away from difficulty, but rather embraces it as an opportunity to practice virtue. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, writes, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Adversity, failure, and conflict are not seen as setbacks for the Stoic. They are seen as the very experiences that forge strength, character, and wisdom. The unshakable self understands that challenges are not interruptions to a peaceful life, but integral parts of it, shaping the person we are becoming. The Stoics practiced amor fati, or the love of fate, which involves accepting all that life brings with grace and embracing it as part of our journey. Instead of wishing for life to be different or resenting misfortune, the Stoic learns to welcome whatever comes their way, knowing that each experience contributes to their growth. The unshakable self does not seek to control external circumstances, but instead seeks to control their response to those circumstances. This practice leads to a profound peace that cannot be shaken by the whims of fortune. Furthermore, the unshakable self is built upon a deep alignment with one's values and principles. In the face of temptation, fear, or pressure, the Stoic remains committed to their moral compass. The strength of the unshakable self lies not in external accomplishments, but in the inner coherence of one's actions with one's beliefs. As Seneca writes in his letters to Lucilius, "A man is not good because he possesses a great number of virtues, but because he lives according to them." The unshakable self is not defined by the ability to avoid hardship or pain, but by the ability to hold fast to one's values in the midst of them. To become unshakable is also to cultivate emotional resilience. The Stoics understood that emotions, while natural, should not control our actions. Emotions such as anger, fear, and anxiety can cloud our judgment and lead us to act impulsively or irrationally. The unshakable self recognizes the role of emotions, but does not allow them to dictate behavior. Instead, the Stoic practices the art of emotional regulation, stepping back from immediate impulses to consider what is truly wise and in alignment with their values. This requires a commitment to self-awareness and discipline, recognizing when our emotions are leading us astray, and choosing to act from a place of clarity rather than reaction. The unshakable self also embodies the discipline of reflection. The Stoics practiced regular self-examination to assess their actions, thoughts, and intentions. This reflective practice helps the Stoic to remain aware of their inner state and ensures that they are consistently aligned with their principles. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reminds himself to reflect on his thoughts and actions, asking whether they are in harmony with the virtues of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. This process of self-inquiry is not about seeking perfection, but about striving for continual improvement and alignment with one's values. In this pursuit, the unshakable self does not expect life to be free of struggle or pain. Rather, the Stoic embraces these difficulties as opportunities to practice resilience and to grow in wisdom. As Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Every challenge we face, every setback we experience, is an opportunity to cultivate the virtues that make us unshakable. The Stoic, therefore, does not seek to avoid discomfort, but to learn from it and to use it as a means of growth. One of the key aspects of the unshakable self is the ability to maintain equanimity in the face of praise and criticism. In a world that often defines us by the approval or disapproval of others, the Stoic remains unmoved. The unshakable self understands that external validation is fleeting and that true value comes from within. The Stoic does not allow their peace to be disturbed by praise or condemnation, for they know that both are temporary and ultimately out of their control. By focusing on their internal development rather than seeking external approval, the Stoic builds an inner strength that is unshakable, regardless of external circumstances. The unshakable self is ultimately a product of constant self-discipline and reflection. It is not something that is achieved once and for all, but a continuous process of growth and refinement. The Stoic does not seek to create a perfect self, but a resilient, virtuous one that is capable of standing firm in the face of adversity, remaining calm in the midst of chaos, and living with integrity and purpose in every circumstance. Cultivating the unshakable self, we can learn to navigate life's challenges with grace, strength, and wisdom. We no longer seek to control the world around us, but to master our responses to it. The Stoic teaches us that the foundation of true peace and strength lies within, and that by focusing on our internal development, we can become unshakable, no matter what life throws our way. The Stoic path is not one of passive resignation or avoidance of life's challenges, but of active engagement with them, armed with wisdom, strength, and focus. These virtues are not mere ideals or abstract concepts. They are disciplines that can be cultivated and applied in our everyday lives. The Stoics remind us that we cannot control the world around us, but we can always control how we respond to it. This shift from seeking control over external events to mastering our inner world is the foundation of a well-lived life. Through the practice of wisdom, we learn to see things as they truly are, without the distortion of emotion or bias, allowing us to make decisions grounded in reason. With strength, we endure life's inevitable challenges, not with loud displays of resistance, but through quiet persistence and dignity. Focus allows us to eliminate distractions, aligning our energy with purpose and clarity, so that each moment contributes to our deeper goals. And in the face of adversity, we find our true power, not by avoiding hardship, but by using it to refine our character and build our inner resilience. The unshakable self, then, is not a destination but a continual process, a lifelong practice of self-discipline, self-reflection, and self-mastery. It is built upon the foundation of these Stoic virtues, each reinforcing the other, creating a solid inner structure that can withstand whatever storms life may bring. The Stoic life is one of commitment to clarity, action guided by principle, and a deep acceptance of what is beyond our control. As we navigate the noise, chaos, and distractions of the modern world, let us return to these timeless principles: wisdom, strength, focus, and resolve. By embracing the Stoic path, we can learn not just to survive in the world, but to thrive within it, anchored by the unshakable power of our own mind and spirit.